Welcome to Podtendo's Top 10 list. Listen to the show, we'll explain it. I can't explain it during the opening. Enjoy! Hey guys, welcome to the Podtendo Top 10 celebration list as we get into our 10th season here on Podtendo. We're rolling, I think we're on the back half? The back nine, as it were, of these Podtendos list. This is number 6. Is that right? Or are we at a higher number and I'm just like bad at counting? Did we already pass 6?
I've lost count.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're somewhere in the Podtendos top 10 lists. NES, Super Nintendo, comic book characters, N64, and I believe Xbox. Yes, so I believe this is the 6th show. First one in our... well, depending when like seasons count on Podtendo here. I'm Mick. I'm joined by
Tyson.
Cool, and we're just going to carry on. So, in honor of our 10th year, we're doing a top 10 list celebration and just random stuff. This is kind of one of more random shows today. Not so much video game focused. So, obviously, the first ones we're kind of looking at the history of what makes Podtendo, right? We looked at the NES games we played. We ranked them. We looked at our Super Nintendo list. And N64s, obviously, and then kind of that retro Xbox, PlayStation. So in the second half, we are going to have a couple video game lists, but more than likely, we're going to have kind of bigger concepts. So like you're seeing today, we're looking at the top 10, our favorite Saturday morning cartoons. Big disclaimer on this one, I guess, has to be more than likely had to been shown on a Saturday, right? We're not looking at shows that kind of debuted on like the Nick at Night, so anything that was kind of an afternoon, evening, weekend kind of more-y show we're kind of avoiding, right? I had to put a big disclaimer that Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps don't qualify for this list. Well, maybe Goosebumps, but I don't think Goosebumps is very good. Definitely Are You Afraid of the Dark, though. If I could have included that in this list and it was like young adults show, it would have just been every episode. So it would have been a very boring list for me. It would have just been 10, and I'd be like, no, but you see specifically Laughing in the Dark by itself is better than any other whole series, so that's why I would have argued it. So it would have just been a list of my top 10 Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes. We're not doing that, though. We're going to cut that. We're going to look at specifically the cartoons.
Yeah. I think we each have our own kind of spin on things, and comparing our two, just like looking at it, like I think we have some overall like some similarities, but definitely a lot of kind of unique stuff, because even just in our little bit of an age gap, like, you know, cartoons change, tastes change, so I think it's interesting what we got for you guys today, so I'm looking forward to getting into it.
And a big disclaimer, as I was listening to a show talking about nostalgia from like 30 years ago, when we're old people, we had to, at some point, only watch cartoons at specific periods. There was usually a little chunk of time carved out after, maybe before school, right? You get an hour, maybe an hour and a half of cartoons in the morning. You maybe get 1 or 2 in the afternoon before they went into prime time, and you kind of just missed out on things. We also never grew up with cable, so we kind of had this elusive Saturday morning block of television that existed where you could just get like all kids programming, all fun cartoons, all kind of modern takes on these like tales that were aimed at the children. And it was only on a Saturday morning. Now, kids nowadays, everything's streaming. You just stream things start to finish. This one, no, you just kind of jumped into a random episode of Road Rovers. You're like, I guess these dogs just driving cars for some reason. I just have to go with it. And that's what I'm going to do for the next 30 minutes, right? There was no choice. There was no, from a previous time. Some of our stories today might even involve VHS tapes. So that's kind of how far I'm going back in that nostalgia. So, 90s kids.
Well, that's fair.
This is definitely
that's
a 90s kids. If you're like a little older, say in the 25 range, and you come in like the 2000s, this might be kind of a generation before you. So I know, at least for myself, I'll start, I guess, with the disclaimer that this is me growing up as a kid in the 90s who loved watching cartoons.
Yeah. Very much a disclaimer on that. So
okay, awesome. And with that, we'll start because, guys, this is a top 10 list. We're going to run from 10 to 1 instead of 1 to 10 because that'd be boring. Here's the least interesting thing I'm going to talk about last. No, we'll save that to the beginning because we're not psychopaths here. We'll start at number 10. And, I guess we get to talk about mine and we'll talk about yours later. So why don't you start us off, Tyson? What is your number 10 item of your number 10 Saturday morning cartoon?
I got Animaniacs. But it comes later in your list, so we'll talk about it then.
The landmark show. I'm excited to get to it on my list. I will start us off then with talking about an actual show that we can talk about. My number 10, when I throw out Disney's Gargoyles. Last edition, I was kind of scrolling through a list on Disney Plus, trying to rack my brain, trying to fill up my list a little bit. The other day, came across Gargoyles. What a special place in my heart does this show kind of possess. If you want crazy mythology and tying in Shakespeare to real life and ancient medieval lore from England, that's what Gargoyles becomes. It kind of just starts out as a Disney's attempt at Batman, right? Kind of a dark, brooding race of creatures that kind of invade New York, solve crime, fight crime. They have a rogues gallery. It's pretty standard affair, but the lore and just the storytelling, and I know places where Gargoyles went. I've never had the pleasure of sitting down and watching it all in my life. Maybe at some point that's like something I share with a child, but I don't know if as an adult I'm ever going to get to that point. I could now with streaming, obviously, but I haven't had that in my life. When I was interested in watching Gargoyles, I was never allowed, or I never had the opportunity to. But knowing that it's kind of there in the background with this crazy ass lore, that's why it's my number 10. Tyson, why Gargoyles? I think it's like your honorable mention, so you can talk about it.
It is. It's chilling in number 11. I was trying to make room for it, but there was just too much good stuff.
Yeah.
It's excellent. I have had the pleasure of sitting down and watching it all. Season 3, I think it's like a little like wacky. But it's honestly, it's fantasy. That theme song alone and like the opening is just like, man, this just gets you going. In the first couple episodes, just get the hooks in you, and it's a cool world. I kind of wish they would come back. I know it kind of made an appearance recently in comics, so that was pretty cool. There's still like this love for Gargoyles, and even the video game got a remake / re-release on modern consoles, so it's still kicking around somewhere. I just wish that we'd get another series to do with it, but they'd probably do it some crappy CGI instead of this beautiful artwork, because it's really good time. It's got good stories, good characters. The art and world that they create is fantastic and neat. And I don't know. I felt like I learned a lot more about Shakespeare from Gargoyles than I did from reading Shakespeare.
Very much so. I was like, Puck is a real person. Okay, cool, interesting. The only other point with Gargoyles that I wanted to allude to, just as we were just talking about, because this is kind of an oral history of our lives, quintessentially, when we talk about first memories, we kind of dive into some of our game retrospectives. I know that I mentioned VHSs. When Gargoyles first came out, we ended up with a VHS copy, and I think it was like the first 3 kind of episodes, the opening of the series. I rented it from Blockbuster, and in the beginning of the VHS, it advertises the VHS back to you, and it shows you the cool box that you got when you bought the VHS, not just rented it. And it came with the Gargoyles board game. We must have hounded our parents a lot. We must have been like just incessant. We need to go get these. You need to go spend $50 so you can rent this VHS or buy this VHS so we can have the Gargoyles board game, because it's the most important game. Our loving mother paused the VHS and like drew out the board, essentially gave us some dice and said, "Here, knock yourself out."
Yeah.
Which I'm like, wow, that's not the same. Also, you know what's probably was terrible? The Gargoyles board game.
Yeah, a lot of 90s board games kind of sucked. The X-Men one still is decent in my eyes, but it's probably crappy by modern standards.
Gargoyles board game. It did come. The other thing with Gargoyles 2 is when it was released, I know it came. There was a toy launch, a fairly successful toy launch that we were in, as well as a Burger King launch tile. So it was kind of right in our wheelhouse. So that's why Gargoyles sits at number 10 on my list. Just didn't quite make your list. Let's jump back into our list, though. Talk about something else. What do you have at number 9?
I got Spider-Man the Animated Series, but that comes later on in your list.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that later.
All right, I'm just going to keep gobbling this up then. I'm going to jump to my number 9. A recent entry, something I found kind of more into my adult life. Gravity Falls, Disney's Gravity Falls. Delightful little tales. It's kind of just kids' X-Files. Do you like kind of Rick and Morty? Do you wish they were kind of kids and X-Files and they solved mysteries in the Pacific Northwest? Gravity Falls. It's delightful. It's great. It's funny. The shorts are quite entertaining. Humor kind of corresponds, right? It's definitely one of those more mature, kind of well-written shows that adults can dive into. Had I found this as a kid, probably might have been one of my favorite shows ever, right? It kind of has everything I want, a little bit of the cult, a little bit of the weird, just kind of a cute little package. So Disney's Gravity Falls is my number 9.
Nice. Yeah, I watched a few episodes and it was pretty good. I too much to watch. It's never been on the top of the pile, but I know it's good and I've been meaning to watch it. So
this Gargoyles like board game, you can get them on like $40, $50. All right, well, maybe that's something I buy later. Anyways,
add to the old eBay cart and order it.
I like that this show again is just
like,
what am I buying on eBay this week? Neat.
Yeah. Well, you know what? eBay, they get a lot of business from us.
Yeah. Okay.
I appreciate them.
That's fair. How about back to our list though? Did you have anything else more to say with Gravity Falls? The reason it's lower on my list, I think it's a fine, superior title. The fact I watched it in my 30s takes away a little bit of the kind of nostalgic glow that I have. Had I found it earlier, it might have been number 1, right? This might be the show I base my identity on. That's sad to say.
Could be.
But it's just lower because I did find it a little bit later in life. So, what's your number 8?
My number 8 is Scooby-Doo.
Okay. Which specifically?
Oh God.
And there's a wrong answer. So
there's a lot. Well, it's the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy. No, I think it's Scooby-Doo. Where Are You is like the original. I seem to like always watch that whenever it was on. That kind of got my love of goofy mysteries with driving around in a van, solving them, eating snacks. There's just something about Scooby-Doo that just like a warm blanket.
Yeah,
I watched a lot of it as a kid, and whenever it was on, it was like, this is never bad. I think one of the first shows I remember was the Scooby-Doo and like Werewolf Shaggy one, where they're like on the monster races.
Yeah.
Another classic. But yeah, no, I've always loved Scooby-Doo. I got a gift of a big old Scooby-Doo blanket, and I think I still have it as one of my go-to blankets just because it's like soft and warm. So it's like, and nobody has ever been like, Scooby-Doo laughs at it. It's like, everybody's like, yeah, fuck yeah, Scooby-Doo, it's the best.
Yeah, no, Scooby-Doo stayed around. Debuted 1969 with Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? In the 70s, we got the new Scooby-Doo, the Scooby-Doo Show, Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, the new Scooby and Scrappy-Doo Show, 1983, just 1 year after the 1982 Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo ended. 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo at 1985. A Pup Named Scooby-Doo in 1988 that ran to 1991. And then finally, What's New Scooby-Doo from 2000 to 2003, which probably corresponded to like the Sarah Michelle Gellar live-action Scooby-Doo movie. So, yeah, no, I definitely understand it kind of just spanned over 30 years of just kind of giving you random, feel-good, goofy, formulaic, very formulaic, like almost to a T. I bet you if you watch Scooby-Doo now, I bet you within seconds, you're like, literally every 12 and a half minutes is when they introduce the villain of the show or something, right? Like, it's kind of like that. Everything else is a red herring. Probably very formulaic, but it's super fun. Very super nostalgic to run through. The repeating backgrounds, the van, the characters, displays, right? The old
chasing between in and out of the doors.
It's really the old man who ran the amusement park, right? All of the tropes in Scooby-Doo. Yeah, it is iconic, it's classic. It just permeates throughout all of pop culture. So, of course, Scooby-Doo has to be on a list, and that's a great addition by you to any Saturday morning cartoon. So, for myself at number 8, though, I have Steven Spielberg presents Freakazoid. So, another kind of a weird, over-the-top, just, I don't know what it was. It was like, what if Animaniacs was a superhero show? I think is what Steven Spielberg is going. It is filled with whatever that Animaniacs Jerry Lewis kind of old Hollywood style of humor. He's a stupid, fun character. Going back and watching it sometime in college, I remember really enjoying it. I was like, these episodes really hold up. I thought they were really well done. They were quite funny. They are a little bit more, what's the word I want to use? Odd. No, not odd. A bit more bizarre, right? Sometimes, like, the conclusion is Freakazoid, instead of fighting the supervillain, they go out for coffee and they talk about, like, failed relationships, and that's the solution to the story. And I like any story that kind of gives you kind of a weird, just out of nowhere, kind of over the top ending. I'm into that. So Freakazoid, good song as well. So you gotta love that.
Oh, totally. I never really got super into Freakazoid. I think it was always just on like half an hour or 2 hours before. Like I'd be like sitting down and like watch cartoons. So I feel like I was just missed it. But there's like a couple episodes like Candle Jack or whatever. Like that's a great episode. I remember that one still even to this day. And you're like, hell yeah, Freakazoid. And like you said, great theme song. Super memorable. I mean, you can still probably even hum it to this day. So yeah, it's good times. Steven Spielberg, back when he used to make or have produced or whatever, make these animated shows, you're like, this was a good block of television. Yeah. You were always in for a good time.
Yeah, very much so. Cool. So let's jump into number 7. So what is your number 7 favorite Saturday morning cartoon?
I got SpongeBob on this one.
That's a good one.
You were a little too old for it, but I mean, I grew up with it watching. I was like the perfect age for it, maybe, because I grew up with it and just watched it like religiously for forever. Everybody hated it. It's like, it's so obnoxious, and you're like, yeah, but that's kind of the point. And even to a point where like the movie came out and we all had to go and buy the damn movie. So. I guess it was one of those things where I like was when I was coming of age. It was one of those shows where it's like talking to girls my age and like elementary school or whatever. It's like, oh, you also like SpongeBob? Whoa, that's crazy. And it was just like this universal thing that kids my age all kind of like loved, and we all sang the song, and we are just like, we get that it's obnoxious or whatever, but that's kind of the point. And it was just like timeless. And even to nowadays, I can still every so often watch some old SpongeBob, and it's just like, man, that's just good writing.
Wow. So. And Tyson's list, as you guys will just kind of see, it's jumping out. It's definitely a lot more iconic too, right? SpongeBob, yeah, it's still going today. I'm pretty sure most of Nickelodeon is just SpongeBob remakes. It's like the Patrick Star Show. Well, there's 2 hours, and then Sandy has her own show, and like Plankton is getting his own theatrical
Squidward
movie,
has his own show,
and that's just all Nickelodeon is now. So essentially, what became the Nickelodeon brand is just SpongeBob, right? I'm pretty sure that you can watch football or hockey, and they have like green SpongeBob slime, and like SpongeBob comes out and like talks to everyone, right? It's very iconic. It's kind of permeated this whole children's cartoon network. So yeah, it might be the most iconic Saturday morning cartoon, right, for what it's done kind of in the last 25 years. In my mind, Saturday morning cartoons have kind of stopped around that time, right? Kind of around that age. So I could see that's why it's not even on my list. But yeah, no, I have to respect the inclusion of just the iconicness of the SpongeBob. And it is one of those cartoons that kids watch. It's also kind of like a stoner comedy. I bet you a lot of people in dorm rooms are like, there's a lot of boys out there that are just, and girls, that are just watching SpongeBob, smoking weed, and just being like, yep, this is how I'm spending my Saturday afternoon. This is a good time. So good old SpongeBob.
Good times.
Pretty iconic.
Makes you want to eat some Krabby Patties.
I'm pretty sure he was learning how to drive around the same time we drove, because my mom still references, no, do not floor at SpongeBob. Good job, us. Number 7, I have, back to my list, we're going to talk about one of your entries, Spider-Man, the animated series. So now we get to finally talk about that one. This ran kind of parallel to the X-Men animated series. I think it started a couple years later, and it was a bit more episodic, right? They'd break them down into like mini side stories. So it'd be like The Day of the Chameleon, parts 1 through 5, and that'd be kind of like a little mini series arc, which would lead into the Man Spider or into the Venom series, right? A bit more, I don't know, it just seemed a bit more like mature storytelling compared to the X-Men counterpart that was on the Fox animated kind of series when you got to that, and it kind of dealt with just more mature. I don't know. It was kind of fun seeing Peter Parker being a little older. He was in college, he had issues, he had girlfriends, right? He had to worry about his rent. He wasn't just like the kid in high school or hanging out with his mom and dad. He had kind of a bit more mature issues. It always kind of seemed like it dealt with kind of more interesting storylines. And I don't know. Yeah, that was good. I like it. I think it holds up. It's one of those things I was like, yeah, I'd go back and watch Spider-Man animated series once in a while. Great toy line, awesome song, Radioactive Spider-Man. Good times. Why did you have it at number 9, Tyson?
Yeah, well, I love it. I think it's like one of the iconic Saturday morning cartoons for sure. It's my favorite Spider-Man the animated anything. Gave me a good verse of like, threw me into the deep end of like the Marvel world of like the Fantastic Four and Iron Man and all that stuff, and just kind of gave me a better sense of it. So it kind of like fed that, and it was like, I think a lot more broader than X-Men. There's just like a couple things that kind of hold it back, where the reuse of animation constantly, a lot of monologuing and dialogue is like was kind of boring as a kid. And I just like didn't really get into it. I was kind of like more like, when does the lizard show up or whatever. But then it gave us great stuff like the Sinister Six, and so there's a lot of pros, and then the animation's also just like a little like choppy and not great, and everything kind of looks like not super refined. But
maybe that's
storyline wise, it's fantastic. Presentation wise, I just think it's a little bit lacking.
That's incredible, because I look at it the same too. I'm like, the Spider-Man, the Venom saga, I think is one of the most iconic storylines, moments, getting to sit and watch that. Did you ever like remember when that was like ran in a row on a Saturday morning? That Saturday morning you got to watch the whole Venom saga. That's incredible. Yeah. That's awesome. But there is a holdup, and I think it is somehow to do with the presentation, the voiceover, it was kind of, I don't know, a little bit bigger than itself. Some of the animation maybe didn't hold up or something. Yeah, there is some hold up too in my mind where I put it down lower on the list, because I'm like, it should be more iconic. Some of these moments are absolutely incredible and awesome, and I love the Spider-Man story and the mythos, and it hits all the major beats. But there is that hold up, and like Tyson's saying, hence why it's lower on his list. I'm not going to dive into it right now, but there's something just holding me back from putting it higher, and that's fascinating. We both have that kind of like that little hesitation. We're like, something's off with it though. It's like there's no love.
Yeah. I think there was like, it was under budgetary constraints, so it reused a lot of bits, because I rewatched a good chunk of it. I want to say like the first season or 2 seasons, and then pick and chose my episodes.
I imagine and every time he web swings, it's the same
thing. Yeah. Or it's like a lot of like the same cuts. You know, like they're like, you clearly are trying to save frames here, or they do like, oh, we gotta have a callback, or like, remember when this happened like literally 2 episodes ago, which is fine in syndication, but when you're kind of binging it, you're like, man, they're just like, get into it.
Well,
and it just kind of like drags its heels.
We will talk about this later, but the inaccuracies too, and like characters change colors, and it's just everything's a little off, and the animations might change episode to episode, and you notice it. And when it's in the bulk of your story, like when the Venom series seems odd, that's not good, right? Later seasons, you know, like you're like, of course you lose budget, you know, animation errors happen. But when it's happening at Jump Street, maybe you have a failed product. So yeah, no, Spider-Man, it's good storytelling, but yeah, it's funny that we both have, there's something off with it. That's fascinating. Number 6, halfway through our list. Who do you have at number 6?
I got Pokemon. It's not on your list, shockingly enough, but yeah, huge franchise, massive. The cartoon was huge. We all watched it religiously and would know the Poke Raps and know all the different, like, oh, I know in this episode we're going to run into the Pokemon and this Pokemon or whatever, and oh, you see Ho-Oh in the background of this episode. Like, it was just, it kind of kick-started the whole franchise that's still going to this day. I don't love Pokemon as much as I used to, but I definitely like respect it for what this massive mega franchise that it is. That's why I got it at 6.
100%. It was definitely very iconic, and it's funny that it kind of hit you a bit more in the nostalgia than it did for me, because I always remember the Pokemon cartoon. I was like, it's awesome, it's just like the video game, and I love these monsters. But ultimately I was always like, it's just so stupid that the conclusion of every episode is friendship is magic, that friendship is the strongest power, that you know, it just always had that kind of that blasé love. Like, Pikachu can't beat Onix in any game. Pikachu just can't beat Onix. Like, you have to be super overpowered. So it's dumb. Yeah. It's dumb that the sprinklers went off. And like, Ash is the worst trainer in the world. And strategy wise, I'm like, no, you're dumb. It's like, I have a Charmander. And he's like, go Butterfree. You have a Squirtle, dude. You have a Squirtle. Like, use some common sense. Don't be the dumbest Pokemon trainer. So that's where I did not include it at all, because just looking at the strategy of what Ash Ketchum did, no, he's awful. One of the worst Pokemon trainers ever. He just dumb lucked his way through it. And that bothers me. Fundamentally, when I was a child, I was like, no, this guy's just a bad trainer. It's like picking up some guy's, your friend's game, and you look and he's got like his Farfetch'd and his level like 27 Charizard that has like scratch and growl. And I'm like, you haven't taught flamethrower? And he's like, no, I thought Ember was better. And I'm like, you're bad at this game. Like, stop it.
That's fair.
Right?
That's
like,
fair.
I'm like, no, I'm not watching that guy's show. I want the guy that I want the H.C. Bailey. I want to watch that guy. Like, how come he's not good? I always thought there was a lot of more potential just to tell a bit more mature, serious story. Right? Take it a little more serious. Pokemon training could be an actual adventure. You're a 10-year-old child thrown into the world. And in the anime, it just kind of seems like it's just the most chill, normal you know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. It lost some of the seriousness. That's why I did not include it on mine. So
yeah, it got bonus points for that Charmander episode with him and a little leaf, and just breaks my heart. So
that's fair.
It had to be above SpongeBob and Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Cool. For myself at number 6, I have Disney's Recess. So part of Disney's One Saturday Morning, there was a block of cartoons. I forget what Recess, Weekenders, Pepper Ann, Doug, I believe all kind of made entries at some point. And what I always thought was one of the biggest iconic ones was the epic Recess. It talks about that little part of the day, that 15, I think at the show they have like lunch and recess is different. Recess was kind of like the outside playtime. It was like their hour play outside. And it was just this, I don't know, interesting world that they created where the kids almost play as like 1920 stereotypes of characters from like movies like The Great Escape, right? And there are all these kind of these weird stereotypes that has merged together into this timeless, ageless little magical realm that exists in the Recess universe. I went back and watched it as an adult a couple years ago when I got Disney Plus. I sat down and watched every episode, found a couple episodes I hadn't seen before. Honestly, a lot of the episodes are really good. They're really tight. They tell clean stories. They have morals. They teach you to kind of be a better person, to learn about your lessons, to make mistakes, right? To be selfish, to be greedy, to lie. But there's consequences, right? And it kind of taught you a little cute lesson. I thought it was expertly written. All the characters have awesome arcs, right? Anyone, the big fat kid to the nerdy girls to the geeky guys, right? Everyone kind of was represented in the show, and it just was this nice splattering, kind of brings us back this nice happy memory of just really pleasant storytelling for kids, right? I think all the stories are really clean, and some very iconic moments too come from this in my nostalgia. So that's why it was my number 6. I believe it was on your honorable mention list.
Yep.
Did it make the top 10?
Didn't make the top 10, but it's sitting down there. When we run through everything, I'll tell everybody the numbers. But yeah, no, great show. Definitely one of those shows when I think of Saturday mornings, I do think of. I love it. It's very like comforting to just sit down and watch some Recess. Like all the stories are just super iconic, like the mud war when then Spinelli apparently throws a rock or whatever, but really it's Randall. It's like I love these little stories, and it's created this world of these characters in just like in that prime time of your life where you're just like the biggest things are like what happens on the playground in your life, and like, oh, they're in a different grade, they're like 5th graders or whatever, and it makes like these big like there's like these cliques and all that stuff, and just does a really good job representing it. And it had like fun, unique ideas, like a Yojimbo kind of episode. And it's just like there's created this cool stuff. There's clever writing. All the characters.
Well, it was just all the iconic things that happen in your life. Yeah, you came up with the dumb games. You had the collectible Pokemon cards, the Pogs. We all had fads, right? I don't know if kids still have that, but when we were growing up, there was tons and tons and tons of fads, right? Every year was something different. It was Pokemon cards, and then X-Men stickers, and we had Pogs, and we had Pokemon cards, right? And it was always kind of these things. Like sometimes you'd show up it was almost like you showed up on a Monday morning, and your week was different because everyone had like Crazy Bones. How do I procure these? Well, you have to go to Zellers and buy them, and all of a sudden Mom's running us to Zellers so we can get marbles, because we got to get marbles this week. That's what we're collecting, right? No, awesome, cool, really fun piece of children's entertainment. I really, really respect Recess, and it would always be a part of my Saturday mornings if I had a choice. That puts us into the top half of our list. Do we want to do? We'll do number 5, and then we'll do a quick recap before we kind of get to the top. No, we'll do 4 and 5, and then we'll do a top before we get into the top 3, maybe. So you're number 5, Tyson. What do you have at number 5?
I got Looney Tunes. Yeah. Specifically the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show. Okay. But yeah, I remember watching this stuff whenever it was on. It felt so prevalent, like it's you would watch it every single day, and there'd be cut together of all these new episodes. You're like, oh, this is the Road Runner one, or this is the Tweety Bird and Sylvester one, and this is the Taz and Bugs Bunny one, and they were just like so good and clever and timeless, and it felt wrong not having them on my list, even though like I think they're just slightly above our time. Like the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show was just really a compilation.
But Looney Tunes was the original SpongeBob. It was the iconic classic pop culture permeating event that children would watch that just everyone has, right? So it's iconic. You can go back to it and return to it now, and I imagine there's lots of I remember in Teletoon Retro at one point was a channel. The number of time I missed school in university because I didn't watch like a Looney Tunes, I was like, wow, I gotta go to class now, but kind of want to see where this Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote episode ends up here. I just won't make it to school today. That happened a couple times. Not proud to admit that, but Looney Tunes is classic, iconic. As soon as I saw it on your list, to be honest with you, I was like, man, that Gargoyles almost needs to come off. Like I was pretty close to getting it on this list because it is just that iconic power status, right? Between SpongeBob and Looney Tunes, you're probably looking at 50, 60 years of children's animation, just domination between these two properties, right? Super iconic. Everyone loves Bugs Bunny. What's up, Doc? Delightful. It's great.
Well, and everybody has their own like favorites. Like, were you a Martian? Martin the Martian? Marvin. Yeah. Or were you Foghorn Leghorn? Like, who was your favorite and why? It was just like
who was the two least popular, Marvin the Martian and Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was more of a Roadrunner kid, even to a point
Bugs
where
Bunny,
I think I saw a garage.
I
think I remember seeing like a garage sale of those windmill things, and one was shaped like a Roadrunner, and I was like, I need to have this.
We did have that. Yeah. Huh.
So
I feel like Grandma and Grandpa got it though. Like we got it at a craft store, and then somehow you were like, "Here, Grandma and Grandpa, it's for you," and then it was just like stuck in Grandpa's shed forever or something.
Forever and ever. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. Probably ended up like rotting outside over the years. Never like put it in
the
you never put it in the garden.
Tossed in the bin. No, it was definitely a waste. But
that's hilarious. I forgot about the Roadrunner guy. Yeah, no, that is great. One of my sad admissions, going back and actually listening to other episodes. If you guys are listening chronologically, we just played Chrono Trigger, and it's a delightful game. Right as we're diving through, we're like, "Oh, it's awesome! It's great!" And I'm like, "Man, I already unaged Super Nintendo. My top 10 Super Nintendo list is already dead. Like, I should have just waited. What was I doing with Chrono Trigger? No, I perfectly ranked Chrono Trigger, actually. Going back and listening to it, I stand by what I said in that podcast 100%. So maybe I should just say now that, like, Looney Tunes maybe replaces Gargoyles on my list. Just to kind of, like, keep myself sane. Just kind of keep all my sanity. But that's probably my only one big error is Looney Tunes. It's great. It's awesome. Should have included it. Oh, well.
Yep. What do you got at number 5?
Number 5, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is higher up on your list, so we'll talk about it then. So then I'll just jump into my number 4. We can hit your number 4, do a quick recap, and then talk about kind of our top 3 or 4 shows, whatever that works out to be. I have, at number 4, I have Dragon Ball Z. Technically, I don't know if it ever made it onto Saturday morning cartoons. It was definitely a show that came up on YTV at night. It was kind of weekly episodic that popped up on like 5:30, 6 or something like that, whatever the slot was in the cartoon world. But in terms of shows that I've watched a lot, had a lot of impact, a lot of influence, I think has a lot of cultural permeation, significance. Dragon Ball Z. It's iconic. People know Goku. They know Super Saiyan. You see shirts all the time. It's just a super iconic. It's still an ongoing series. They're still trying to milk it, right? With your Dragon Ball Supers and your movies that are always coming out in the anime world. It's super. It's big. It's classic. Dragon Ball Z. Love it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most iconic anime. That didn't make my list because I'm like, I feel like this was always on in the afternoons. But yeah, no. Great show. You're like, I remember I was the lame kid that I was like, when it first started, I was like, this Yamcha character sure looks cool. Yeah. You like, it's super owned, and you're like, well, I can't wait for that guy with that purple haired guy with the sword to show up. He seems legit.
Yep, very legit.
So, yeah, like very cool show. I remember we always sit when there's a new episode, we literally have to watch it, drop everything else, and we're like, my mom and dad be like, there's just a guy grunting for like half an hour, and you're like, yeah, this was a not very eventful episode. There's a lot of filler. I think Dragon Ball Kai.
It's one of those things, like, it came to me later in life.
Or something. Cleans up, yeah.
Yes, yeah. I was going to say, I was like, the fact that, we took a lot of flack. This is definitely one of those things that people would, like, beak you a little bit. Or like, oh, Dragon Ball. But I'm like, but it seems so epic. But it is slow, and I obviously understand it because, what was the Konami or whatever who released it, they looked and they were like, man, this show's so slow, we could literally cut out 50% of the content and re-release it as Dragon Ball Z Kai, which just moves quicker. So they did that, and then they re-released that in, like, the 2000s, so people could actually consume this media. So, I mean, maybe it should be Dragon Ball Z Kai is my favorite, and I'd say that's the best one. Go watch that one, right? It ends at the proper spot in the Cell Saga. It doesn't carry on. I don't think they have Dragon Ball Z Kai that goes into the Buu Saga.
Fair enough. Yeah, because the Buu Saga is kind of, like, wacky and out there.
Maybe they got to it, but, like, I think technically the Cell is actually, like, the Cell games is kind of the real end of the series. Like, if you watch it just to the end of the Cell, it's actually very clean, and it's a good story, and it's fun, and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. I understand why they made Z, why it was different. Why it was different from Dragon Ball, right? It was that step up. It was with the next character. And then they were like, well, technically Goku's the main character, so it couldn't have been Gohan. Oops. We'll just change that, but that's the story.
Yeah, just use an eraser. That's what pencils have them. So, yeah.
But no, super iconic. I like it. I think it's solid storytelling, and it's just bizarre. They took this little story about this monkey boy that was journeying to the west. They basically just ripped off, and they created this big epic space time. Well, there's no time travel. Space battle fight show with aliens. I don't know. It touches a special place in my life. That's where it got to number 4. What do you have at number 4?
Ooh, I have a personal favorite. I have Digimon. And I was like, you have Digimon ranked above Pokemon and Looney Tunes and SpongeBob. I really like this franchise. Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool. It's one of the Saturday morning cartoons that kind of deals with death. And, like, some Digimon die and they come back or whatever. But, like, it was also about these kids kind of on their own, trying to find their way without, like, kind of help. And they were just like, they have to rely on their new friends, and some of them made bad decisions, some of them made good decisions, and it's just kind of like, I really enjoy the writing and the world that it created. And it has multiple different iterations. Some of the later ones are actually also really good. I've tried to watch a lot. They're kind of hard to find in English, so I kind of would have to watch some of them with subtitles or whatever. But
okay,
yeah, it's just one of those unique franchises that's, like, on the surface seems like just like a lame ripoff of Pokemon or whatever, but I think, like, goes its own way and does a lot of unique things. Like, it deals with a lot more mature subject matter, like people going through, like, mental trauma or, like, and, like, their own kind of struggles, and, like, how do you come over, how do you overcome that? Like, do you steer into the skid? Do you not steer into the skid? And the series has many different characters, and they each kind of take their own path, where some people make good decisions, some people make bad decisions, some people have to reflect on their bad decisions and grow from it. So I always appreciated that. I always thought it was, like, a little bit more mature and kind of, like, is more like a philosophical, like, what would you do in these situations? And I always appreciated that. I thought that was really well done.
It's funny, at the top of our list, we do have some animes. I guess Pokemon counts as an anime as well, right? Yeah. But it is funny that, like, the 4 spot is kind of filled with that, like, iconic anime from our youth. And you could argue, and, like, it's not the best anime, but it's my favorite. It's the one it resonates with me. It's the story I like the best. I don't know, it touches me for some reason. It's dumb. A lot of anime stories, I do find that they do really interesting narrative work, right? It's not just a black and white story. Usually they have a lot more melancholy throughout, right? And that's kind of, I think, what the perk of anime is. It's the flawed stories, the flawed characters. And very much, I think, in Digimon, that is, whereas Pokemon is the infallible, love is magic, yeah, woo, love. Kind of boring, plain Jane, black and white, right? Good versus evil. Digimon, you kind of get that bit of gray, that little bit more interesting, mature storytelling. So I do respect the pick. I know I went back and watched the original series where they're kind of on Digi Island, Digi Destined, and it did kind of seem like it was one good, clean story, and then every spin-off is just a mess, and it's terrible, and it's kind of like, what the fuck? And you hit it out of the park. You did a really good job on the first one, because you built your story, and you have each character gets one story, and the next time we talk to them, like their Digimon, levels up and evolves, and it's the next story, and it's very kind of formulaic But at least you saw. You're like, oh, we get to see Sora's guy evolve to the next one. Cool, right?
Yeah.
Kind of cool, kind of clean. So I understand why it's 4. It just, I don't know. I've tried watching the other ones with like Renamon. And then, and then you're like, well, there was actually, during the other, during the Digidestin originally, there was like 12 Digidestins, and here's their other stories that all happened at the same time. And I'm like, I feel like you guys missed the plot somewhere.
Yeah, well, I feel like they're just trying to like,
I don't know if
just keep hammering this out, and you're like, you don't need to. Sometimes you do a fresh cut.
And it's one of those early shows that they use Digimon, and they're like, oh, and the internet and this, and like their understanding what the internet is just isn't how the internet works, kind of thing. It's like Reboot, and I'm like, that's cute. You tried to like make these little worlds in the digital space. That's not how the internet works, though. Stupid show.
Yeah, or they use the word digi for everything. Yeah. It's like, this is a digi phone. Like, come on, please. Why are we doing this?
Yeah. Okay, cool.
But another little kudos, just one last thing. They made some really solid games. If you guys are interested, I know the Digimon Survive game. It's a little bit more of a story, like what the heck, a visual novel. But it's good. I mean, and if you don't make certain decisions, some characters may just die.
Cool.
Or some characters are meant to just die. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, they just got eaten by a Digimon. You're like, that's fair. I figured that dinosaur might eat people.
That's funny.
And it does.
Cool.
So.
Okay, sweet. That puts us into our top 3. I did say at a recap we would give a recap at some point. So maybe we'll do a recap. For myself, just thus far at number 10, I have Gargoyles, but probably Looney Tunes is probably what it should be there. 9 is Gravity Falls. 8 is Freakazoid. 7, Spider-Man animated series. 6 is Recess. 5, Dragon Ball or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. 4, I have Dragon Ball Z, and that leads us to my number 3, which we'll talk about right now. But Tyson's going to give you a recap, and then we'll jump into my number 3.
Yeah, as always, I always have a few little honorable mentions. So 15, Recess. 14, Sonic. 13, Jackie Chan Adventures.
Wait, which Sonic? The one where he's voiced by Jaleel White?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Great joke. 13, Jackie Chan Adventures. 12 is G.I. Joe. 11, Gargoyles. 10, Animaniacs. 9, Spider-Man the Animated Series. 8, Scooby-Doo. 7, SpongeBob. 6, Pokemon. Number 5, Looney Tunes. Number 4, Digimon.
Super. All right, so that gets us to our top 3. We have some similarities. We'll talk about a couple different ones. At number 3, we've actually already both mentioned this. It's kind of cute how our list works out. So let's go. What's the lowest one, which would be mine? So we'll talk about... Or, sorry, you have Animaniacs, the lowest, which is my number 3, so we'll talk about that first. At number 3, I have Steven Spielberg presents Animaniacs / Pinky and the Brain. All of the kind of joy and praise that I put on Freakazoid, this is the epicenter, guys. You want Steven Spielberg tearing apart old Hollywood, giving his critique through movie parodies, through TV parodies, through just a rogues gallery of delightful, hilarious, absolutely well-written, genius takes on animation, comedy, and just children's kind of cartoons. That's where you come with the classic, iconic Animaniacs / Pinky and the Brain. I love these characters. They're so funny. Going back and watching them now as an adult, some of the episodes, I'm like, I never would have understood that the Les Mis, they have like Runt and Rita do a Les Mis, almost like spot on parody of this like classic musical. It's delightful. It's great. Never would have appreciated it as a child. You kind of have to go to your way to watch Les Mis, and you're like, wow, they're really good at what they're doing, and they're parodying here. It's hilarious. It's great. It's kind of, is it a better Looney Tunes? Maybe. It's like, what if Steven Spielberg put his like magic into Looney Tunes? It's almost kind of what you get with like the zaniness of the Animaniacs. It's great. It's awesome. Chicken Boo. He's always a giant chicken. I love the gig. It's dumb, but it always works for me. It's just right in my wheelhouse. I love Animaniacs. That's why it's at my number 3.
Pigeons who are mafia people. I think they do an Apocalypse Now parody at one point, and you're just like, it's a show that I have lower because, obviously this is like kind of like when I was a kid, but as an adult, like this would probably be switched around. Animaniacs would probably be higher because it is like, it's very clever. I just didn't really get the jokes as a kid. Whereas now I can kind of appreciate like, oh wow, this is actually really clever. I understand who you're parodying, why you're parodying them, and like the subtleties. And it's not just like, hello, nurse, whack somebody with a hammer, have goofy, there's a little bit of that, but there's also like, but we're going to do it with purpose and with intention.
Yeah.
And I always, like, no matter what episode it was, you know you're going to get something unique and fascinating, and I think extremely well written. And thoughtful, not just like a bunch of slapstick, like hitting people with hammers and dumb jokes. It's just like, yeah, that happens, but there's usually a lot of other interesting things going on. And there's just like certain stuff that kind of just like sticks with you. Like, forget what there's a parody of the one guy who's like, Troy Lavin. Is it Troy Lavin, the parody where everybody says Troy Lavin? And you're like, I don't understand what this is parodying, but I really appreciate it. It's so funny.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they pull it, these like weird Jerry Lewis old Hollywood. And I'm like, no one. I'm glad that Spielberg fell in love. That's obviously what made him fall in love with film, right? It was kind of like this Jerry Lewis, but I'm like, I don't know who Jerry Lewis is. That wasn't. Yeah.
Neither did I.
You know, and then you look back and you're like, oh, I kind of get it. Yeah, it's fun. He's kind of interesting little guy. So that's why it holds up in my brain, and going back and watching it, and I'm like, man, this is such a well written, smart show. Like, that's awesome, great. I loved it. Then obviously Pinky and the Brain, right? What do you want to do tonight, Pinky? Try and take over the world. Sure, I'd still say that today. It's delightful. It's great. Love those guys. Number 3, who do you have?
I got TMNT.
Awesome.
Something that's always kind of been in my life. I've always loved the Ninja Turtles. Love the games. Love the shows, even if it's just like the first show is kind of like cheesy, and then it just gets really weird, like them battling in space or whatever. It's like TMNT is a weird world, but I think it's just like, when I think of cartoons, it's one of the first ones that kind of come to my mind.
Yeah.
And it just like always resonated with me. I think it's really good. I think it's as what kind of spun out as two guys trying to make each other laugh has given us massive storylines and all this kind of cool stuff. And everybody's got their favorite turtle. I still like periodically like watch the movies.
Yeah.
It was funny. Me and Dad actually sat down. Dad's like, I kind of want to watch the Ninja Turtle movies. And you're like, I fucking always want to watch the Ninja Turtle movies. So we put some on and we watched all 3 of them one weekend. And we're just like, that was a good way to spend our days.
Solid. So. That's cute. Yeah. Like we talked about a while back, I think we were playing, maybe it was Turtles in Time or something. We kind of had that moment where this is the last time we might go back to the Turtles. I think we ended up with Shredder's Revenge coming up a couple years ago. Really, this whole podcast is just a reason to talk about the Turtles in my mind. So I finally did this. I figured out if we come up with this top 10 list, we get to the cartoons. Now we can get to the Ninja Turtles. This has all been a big ploy to get to essentially this point where we're talking about Ninja Turtles, because I love Ninja Turtles. I love talking about them. I don't want to let them go. But obviously there's not a lot of other media and video games kind of once you get past, or you get too far into the weeds with this one. So you kind of have to make peace here and there. So we did it. Found another moment to talk about Turtles. Great. Awesome. Yeah. It's number 5. It's iconic. I think the 1987 series is my favorite from the animation style, but I know it's goofy and it's probably stupid, and it's probably not as good as like the one that came out in the 2000s, right? That had a bit more of a concrete story, and they ended up in space, and it ties in like the Triceraton War, and it kind of ties in these old lures from like the toy series from like the early 90s, right? But I don't know if I like it as much. So it's kind of one of those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you look at the first 2 series, the 2000 iteration and the 1987. 2000, probably better. Probably going to give you a better, more clean through narrative through the 5 seasons of that show versus like the 7 seasons where you're like, why is the Technodrome now on Mars? What happened there? Yeah. And you're like, something happened in the last season. So that, Technodrome shows up, they put it in a new place, then they're in Antarctica next year. Oh, okay, cool. Neat, awesome, right? Probably a little goofy, silly, but yeah, from the first, you never forget your first. It was our first. We fell in love with the toys. We bought them. That was like probably all we loved for, years and years of our life. We still love it now. We just make podcasts where we just want to talk about the Turtles. So yeah, it made number 5. I don't know if it holds up as well as kind of the quality of the top 4 on my list. That's why it was a little bit lower for me, but it's awesome. It's iconic. It's great. And it'll always be with us. And I'm sure they probably are working on a new movie. A movie came out a couple years ago. They probably have a new one coming out because it's just something that Nickelodeon can make money off of. So good job, Turtles. Yeah. What do you have at number 2?
I have Batman the Animated Series.
That's a good one.
Yeah. You don't have it in your list, strangely enough. But yeah, I I think this is one of the best cartoons ever made.
Yep.
Like, it's super thematic. It's beautiful. The art style, like, they did all the drawings on black paper to really make the blacks stand out. Introduced a bunch of great characters. It got us introduced into the cool rogues gallery. Showed that a lot of the Batman strengths is the rogues gallery, and I just love that every episode you're kind of getting some new people. Sure, you get a few like lame people in there. Like, I think the gangster puppet is kind of lame, and like the little girl who's like evil, like that's also kind of lame. And there's like there's a couple like just boring characters, but when you're like, oh man, there's a Clayface episode, man, I'm pumped. Or, oh hey, this is a Joker Harley Quinn episode, that's great. Or like the episode where all the rogues gallery are kind of together playing poker, and they're telling about the closest they ever got to killing Batman. And like, I love that episode. It's super good.
And the reason it didn't make my list is for the reasons you basically just outlined. It is awesome. It's iconic. I wasn't the biggest fan. I didn't always watch it for some reason. It was never on in my kind of viewing experience, my viewing habits, right? I kind of had I think I missed it and then never got back into it. And going back, there are too many bland episodes where, I'm watching him fight the Snake Queen. I'm like, the Snake Queen? Who's this? Like, give me a good one. Give me the Rogues Galleries. I love the toys for the series, right? The Jokers, the Riddlers, the Two-Faces, the Clayfaces. Those guys, like the big powerhouses. I love that. I think that's great. If there were just those episodes, and then obviously there's like an amazing episode sprinkled in with random guy over here or something like that. So if I went back and watched just kind of like the elite of the Rogues Gallery stories and like the elite kind of other episodes, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, the show is awesome. There's just a lot of fluff in between, and I don't really care so much about the dark, quieter, boring, oh, he's fighting a little girl. Oh, good job, Batman. Right? Those ones just don't stand out in my mind, so that's why I didn't make my list, right? Going back, I know it is iconic, but for some reason I don't know. This and like the Justice League and the Superman does like very little for me in terms of entertainment. I'd rather just be like, I think this is when I play a video game rather than watch those. For some reason, DC just doesn't speak to me. That's why I didn't make my list.
That's fair. I probably did a disservice by not including Superman. I'm staring at Sonic and being like, why are you there when I could have put Superman or Justice League? But yeah, I really like him. DC always speaks to me. I'm actually a little bit more of a DC person in my older age than I was a Marvel person, because as a kid I was Marvel all the way. And I think that's going to stand out as my number one. Okay. But I'll leave that as a teaser. What do you got at number two?
I have Transformers Beast Wars. So from...
Good choice.
Yeah, a toy series, Toy Wars. I bought a Rat Trap toy randomly at a Zellers. Brought it home, threw the little cardboard thing, and it fell behind the couch. Weeks later, I see it behind the couch. And I remember seeing it, and I was like, oh, I should get it out sometime. Pull the couch out and get this cardboard standee at some point. Early one Monday morning, Tuesday morning before school, I get up to watch cartoons, and I see this Transformers series, and it's CG, and they're animals, and they're fighting each other, and I'm like, I've seen this guy before. I know these characters, and I pull out the card, and I'm like, holy smokes, guys, there's like a whole world that goes on in these Beast Wars. It's not just a one-off toy that I randomly bought at the toy store, right? This is like a big epic experience. That was my entry point into Beast Wars, and it was just something I fell into. I loved the lore. I loved the toys. That was like one of the number one collectible series I talk about with my friends. Just absolutely loved this. I would go back now when we even watch them, and it's one of those things. It doesn't really hold up. Some of the animation is kind of, especially in the early seasons, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Second season, the last season, a little bit better, right? But yeah, just between the toy series, the animation, the storytelling, it was one of my I loved it. It was one of those series I could kind of just really dive into, and I was like, Beast Wars, awesome. I don't even think it was on my list till a couple days ago when I was thinking about stuff. And I was like, I forgot about Beast Wars. I had to re-edit everything, kind of shuffle it around. But I had to jump way up on my list because I do think it is just, for me, it's one of those, it touches me all, like this and the toy series. I'm in. Like, I love all the toys from this line. If I was to ever like collect something, this might be one of them. I was like, I just want the Beast Wars, like the guys from the show. I just want all the characters from the shows. Like, I want that. I want like the manta ray guy. I want the the big crab. I want all the different Optimuses. I want Optimal Optimus. He's like a big monkey plane. Like, that looks awesome to me. That's a cool collectible toy. So seeing them there, it's just, I don't know. For that reason, it made number 2 on my list.
That's fair. I just didn't this in Reboot. I love, but I just didn't include because I was like, man, these are like, I remember getting home from after school, and that was when I watched these shows.
I see.
So I was like, I just can't make it fit, or that just be self-justifying it not being on the list. But yeah, great series, a lot of fun. I remember like we collected like a bunch of the toys, and it was always like you had yours and I had mine, and I was always more attached to mine. And then when like I think I had Rhinox, and then Rhinox turned out to be a bad guy in the Beast Machine series. I was like, I can't watch this anymore. One of my characters is now bad guy.
Well, I mean, the inclusion of Beast Machines should almost like delete this from my list. Be like, oh, why isn't Beast Wars here? Because Beast Machines exist. But I think most people are like, Beast Wars is so good and Beast Machine sucks, so just don't like Beast Machines. Oh, okay, cool.
Just ignore it.
Ignore it, exactly.
Just ignore it.
Yeah, watch a quick retrospective online. You get most of it. Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I want to say one other thing that was like, this was a really kind of iconic show where even people that I didn't even consider like, oh, you guys really like cartoons? In university, I remember me and a bunch of my friends were like, I came home from like school one day and I walked into the house and everybody just like binging Beast Wars. Like, oh, it was on Netflix, so we're just watching it all. It's like sick. I'm so down for this right now. Just like something like a bunch of people I just would have never guessed that were like, oh no, hell yeah, we're watching all the Beast Wars. It's like, cool. I have cool friends.
That's awesome. That's great. Sweet. Cool. Yeah. That only leads our last one, guys. Number 1, we both have it on top of our list. Can anyone guess what it is?
Now, geez, I wonder. I truly wonder.
If you had watched our show over the past 10 years, one year, I was like, Tyson, what we're going to do is we're going to watch every single X-Men movie. If there's an X-Men or a Wolverine in it, we're going to watch it and rate it. And after the first 3, we're like, I immediately regret this decision. Last year, we spent tons of time trying to work our normal schedule. And rather than just being like, oh, we'll just cut this game out, now I got to play Sarge's Heroes. That's a good waste of a couple Saturdays playing that. X-Men the animated series, X-Men 99 came out last year. I love it. It's great. I went back and watched it. I'm like, it holds up. It was my favorite show from last year. We did a whole series on it. We looked at all the movies. So obviously our number 1 entry has to be the X-Men animated from well, it wasn't 97. That's when it ended. It was like 93 was when X-Men animated series start on Fox Kids.
Something like that.
In terms of storytelling, pound for pound, what do I love? I love X-Men. I love Marvel. It kind of gave me everything I could hope for and more. It kind of dove into some of the more mature storylines from the comics. It dealt with some kind of the prejudice that the X-Men do and the adversities that they kind of face in just their daily lives, not just from being superheroes, right? From being kind of mutants, hated society. It gave us tons of great moments, tons of great cards and collectibles and toys and video games and just everything you could want for and more was wrapped up in this delightful animated series from the 90s that I just love and cherish and have the box sets of DVDs sitting on my shelf next to all my Simpsons DVDs. So that's kind of where it stands up there as an iconic series. And how'd you not guess this? If you listen to our show or look back, even just at our catalog quick, how did you not guess that X-Men animated series would be both of our lists? Tyson, why is it your number 1? Do you have a greater reason?
No, I mean, I just defaulted in there when I was making this list.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, number 1's X-Men. Yep. And then I worked my way down the list. Yeah, it's so good. This was our gateway drug to Marvel, X-Men, and it made us want to go buy all the toys and it made me want to read the comics and just like kickstarted a huge chunk of the things I love in this world. I can almost trace a line back to the animated series. And it's like, oh, this episode has this one character. They're only in this one episode, but this is one of my favorite characters.
Sure. Why during phase 1 of Marvel was I like, man, Captain America is fucking badass because he teams up with Wolverine in World War II in the series. Literally, that's why I was like, no, Captain America's awesome. He's great. Why? Probably because he was in the X-Men animated series, right? Like almost exactly like Tyson said, straight lines. If you were in the X-Men, I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's a fun story. So I think it's pretty iconic. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's all good. I mean, I love it. Like to that first episode of like, what's the first one called? Something about Sentinels? Night of the Sentinels?
Oh yeah, Night of the Sentinels.
It's like for Morph to die, and you're just like, man, this show's heavy. Like, doesn't stray away from like prejudice. It doesn't stray away from the themes. It doesn't talk down to the audience. It just like presents it in a super approachable package. Makes, like, I remember us even getting the VHSs back in the day. I think I had the Wolverine one. You had like one of the Phoenix Saga ones or
yeah, it was
like
the first of the Phoenix Saga where they go to space and nothing happens. That was a dumb episode. And then it was like Live and Let Die, no, Till Death Do Us Part 1. So it's like the first Mr. Sinister, he like kidnaps Jean, and I'm like, that's dumb. Why would I have a part 1 of an episode on a VHS? Like, you should definitely at least get the 2 together.
Yeah. Well, and it was sucked that it was like, here's a single episode on a VHS. Yeah. But I remember us like finding them, was like, we need to take these home. And I watched that one episode of Sabretooth and Wolverine in the Arctic. It's like a bunch. And it was like, this is just a standalone Wolverine episode. I wonder why he's one of my favorite mutants, if not favorite characters. So like, yeah, kind of straight line, direct back to the X-Men. It's like all things lead back to to the X-Men.
Gosh, so. If you wanted the first season of VHS, you'd be spending $180 right now on eBay. Oh my, this might be that, like, start chipping away at this at some point in my life, try and get all these VHSs going.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, if there's a place that sells cheap VHSs, I say check it, because there's a good chance that there's some of these old series, like, here's this random episode, and you're like, hell yeah, just for the box art, I'll take this.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. Oh, and the Pizza Hut. You can get the Pizza Hut because it came at, you bought a pizza, you get an X-Men Night of the Sentinels VHS. That's hilarious. This is great.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
And like,
between
honestly,
this
the
and
VHS covers like looks like straight from the comics. Yeah. It's so cool. I don't know who they got to do it, but they did a great job.
No, it is fantastic. It's phenomenal. Oh, look at this one, Slave Island. There's a big Sentinel shooting Gambit. Huh. Oh, and Cable's right there. I wonder if that'll ever come up in the future. Neat.
Well, you know what? It's like,
look at that.
He is the wild man of Borneo.
Literally, you should look at like the Slave Island VHS cover, and you're gonna be like, oh, that almost brings a tear to my eye. That's so sad. Huh. Cool.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know if they went back and referenced these and were like, we should have this as a scene.
Yeah, this could definitely be an interesting scene. Oh yeah, like Cold Vengeance, like Wolverine Sabretooth, way cooler than the actual episode is. That's great.
Oh, the episode's kind of boring and lame, and it's like, but that artwork, oh man, look at this action.
Oh yeah, like, it's great. Till Death Do Us Part. There it is. So that was like the first part of season 2. So maybe they only did season 1 and 2 on VHS, and then they stopped. I don't know if I see a lot later than this.
Must have.
But no, it's very fascinating. It's a cool part of our childhood collectorness, whatever you call that. So awesome. I'm glad that X-Men, we got to show it a little bit of love at the top of our list, and that concludes our top 10 Saturday morning cartoons list. So I guess one more time I'll run through kind of what the list looks like, just if you're having a little trouble following at home, because I found that a couple times we were talking. I'm like, what number we're at? What was before? I think that's just the nature of these lists. You jump back and forth, and there's kind of like no, like you're just talking about Recess, then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then Dragon Ball Z for some reason. It's hard to like.
And if you hit like forward, you're like, wait, what are we talking about?
That's the thing, and like your brain has trouble. Like I don't know how to contextualize those last 3 switches you just made in the last 6 minutes. Yeah, it's fair. So at number 10, I have Looney Tunes. We'll just call it Looney Tunes. Get out of here, gargoyles. Number 9, we have Gravity Falls. 8, we have Freakazoid. 7, Spider-Man. 6, Recess. Then we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at 5, Dragon Ball Z at 4, Animaniacs / Pinky and the Brain at 3, Beast Wars at number 2, and then of course the ultimate Saturday morning cartoon is X-Men at 1.
Yeah, and mine goes honorable mention 15 Recess, Sonic with Julia White, of course. 13 Jackie Chan Adventures, 12 G.I. Joe, 11 Gargoyles, 10 Animaniacs, 9 Spider-Man the Animated Series, 8 Scooby-Doo, 7 SpongeBob SquarePants, 6 Pokemon, 5 Looney Tunes, 4 Digimon, 3 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 2 Batman the Animated Series, and number 1, of course, X-Men the Animated Series.
Solid.
Of course.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. So that's awesome. So that wraps up our 6th show. So we're in the back half. We have 4 more to go. I think we're hitting another top 10 list before we get into kind of a second part of Chrono Trigger. So it'll probably be about a month before we kind of get into that. And we're going to do like a Chrono Trigger / Podtendo retrospective, I think, kind of clump those together. So kind of quickly do a big kind of mega show in a month's time. But We're coming back with another top 10 list. I think we're talking about video games in 2 weeks. So you kind of get us there. But yeah, we're just going to kind of keep carrying on with our schedule and have fun over the summer and just keep talking at some point and go from there. Did we miss anything?
Nah, I'm sure I was actually thinking, I was like, we could do a top 10 cartoons and just kind of exclude all the ones that we did on this. But nah, I like our list. Yeah. It's funny that we both ended up with X-Men as number one. It's only fitting.
I mean, that's how I made the list. I just literally went to the top and I was like, okay, X-Men's number one. What else do I like? I like Animaniacs. I think that's how my list kind of started. I was like, I like Animaniacs. I was like, Dragon Ball Z should be there probably. And like Recess is good. Spider-Man. And then I just like kind of kept adding stuff to that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Sweet. So, but yeah, no, I always started kind of at the top down without question.
Yeah, I actually had Recess higher up there, but it kept falling down the list and kept falling down the list. I was like, it's a good show, but I like this one more. Yeah. I don't feel I should have this one.
No, I get that. And you're looking at like Pokemon. And I should include Pokemon. And I was like, I should include Pokemon. And I was like, I just don't think it's too stupid with friendship. I don't like that part of it.
That's fair.
It's strategy. I tried that in the game. One time I was like, I love you, Caterpie. And then Onyx just killed him. And I was like, oh, I guess I just lost my love. So
yeah, and like you fainted. Thanks, Caterpie, you worthless Pokemon. Maybe I should level him up and try Metapod.
What did I accomplish here? Nothing. So cool. So with that, that wraps up the show, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Talk about another top 10 list. That's fun.
Yep. See you then.
Okay. Bye.